A Level 5 Academy failure stood alone before a Level 55 nightmare. The beast invaded his mind and gave him the mother he lost. One peaceful lie could erase every wound Ethan Cole had ever carried. But accepting that dream meant abandoning his sister, father, and wounded friends. So Ethan shattered paradise, awakened his true sovereign form, and opened his eyes. The monster laughed, unaware that the powerless boy had finally become its executioner. To understand how that powerless boy reached this nightmare, we return 8 years before the first rift opens. Like the video and subscribe for more Manhwa stories. Now, let's begin with the promise Ethan Cole refused to break. 8 years earlier, Ethan walked beside his sister toward their first kindergarten day. Lily Cole marched confidently, while her older brother tried hiding his nervous expression. Their father, Daniel, teased Ethan about crying during his own first school morning. Ethan protested that fear never changed who protected whom when danger appeared. He promised Lily that her big brother would always stand in front. The childish promise sounded harmless beneath the bright and ordinary morning sky. Then translucent panels appeared above every pedestrian, displaying symbols nobody understood. Adults stopped walking while unfamiliar numbers shifted above their frightened faces. Ethan wondered whether a panel floated above his head as well. Before Daniel could answer, screaming erupted beyond the kindergarten gates. Then the sky split. A black rift opened overhead with a sound like metal tearing underwater. Armored creatures poured through, crushing cars and hunting every human nearby. Evelyn shoved both children behind her so hard Ethan struck the pavement. Hot asphalt scraped his palms while shattered glass rained across the sidewalk. Lily's fingers locked around his sleeve and would not let go. She asked whether the monsters were going to eat their family. Evelyn crouched once, forcing herself to meet Ethan's terrified eyes. She made him repeat the promise to protect Lily, whatever happened next. His mouth had gone dry, and the words barely escaped. He promised. Evelyn told both children to close their eyes and trust her completely. Ethan obeyed, but not completely. Through trembling lashes, he saw golden light threading beneath his mother's skin. The light erupted, throwing the nearest monsters through cars and concrete walls. A masked enemy stepped from the rift and called Evelyn the Divine Woman. He said her power was almost gone and demanded the Godfall seal. Evelyn revealed the ancient seal while blood ran down one shaking wrist. The enemy moved toward the children, certain that fear would break her. Evelyn looked back once and gave Ethan the smallest, saddest smile. Then she crushed the seal inside her own hands. Sound vanished first. White fire swallowed the street, the monsters, and Evelyn's fading silhouette. When Ethan finally opened his eyes, the city was burning. Evelyn was gone. That empty space became the wound shaping every choice he made afterward. In the year 2087, had already changed beyond recognition. Space-time ruptures opened across cities, oceans, deserts, and abandoned military zones. Man-eating beasts emerged from those rifts and nearly erased human civilization. Humanity survived because some bodies awakened upgradable combat abilities during the mutation. Those abilities appeared through panels showing levels, skills, talents, and physical conditions. 5 major factions built fortified safe zones behind armies of awakened fighters. Outside those walls, monsters evolved through endless hunting and violent competition. Inside them, children learned early that weakness could become a death sentence. Ethan trained harder than anyone because he never forgot his mother's final request. Teachers once called him gifted and predicted an extraordinary combat career. Then his progress stopped completely after reaching visible level 3. 1 year passed, then another, while his panel refused showing improvement. Every exhausting training session ended with the same humiliating number. Former admirers gradually replaced encouragement with mockery and open contempt. Blake Turner, the Academy's loudest bully, called Ethan defective equipment. He claimed a level 3 deadweight only wasted resources meant for real fighters. Ethan clenched his fists, but refused, wasting energy answering another pointless insult. The humiliation worsened because Lily had become the Academy's celebrated young genius. She reached level 7 within 1 year, and surpassed several older students. Whenever anyone insulted Ethan, Lily stepped forward without the slightest hesitation. Blake's followers immediately backed away whenever she raised her voice. Blake still sneered that Ethan survived only behind his talented little sister. Lily called him a coward and dragged Ethan away before trouble escalated. She promised those arrogant students would eventually regret underestimating her brother. Ethan appreciated her faith, but 3 silent years had damaged his own. That evening, Daniel prepared a handmade birthday cake for Lily at home. Its uneven decorations reminded them of the cakes Evelyn once made. The small family gathered together and protected one ordinary moment from the world. Lily insisted that Ethan make a wish before they blew out the candles. He almost laughed because wishes had never changed his frozen combat level. Still, Ethan closed his eyes and chose something more important than strength. He wished that his remaining family could live safely and happily together. The candles flickered as a violent vibration rolled through their district. Outside, security sirens announced another dimensional disturbance above the neighborhood. People rushed toward shelters while enormous beasts appeared between apartment buildings. Daniel pushed both children toward an evacuation route and stayed behind. He understood instantly that the nearest creature would catch them otherwise. Ethan refused, leaving, but Daniel reminded him who still needed protection. A visible level 3 student could not survive one direct exchange with that monster. Daniel ordered Ethan to take Lily and run without looking back. Lily screamed that their family should escape together or not at all. The creature struck Daniel before Ethan could reach his side. Rage erased every warning, and Ethan attacked despite his hopeless panel. The monster laughed at the level 3 failure, charging empty-handed toward death. Lily threw herself forward, desperate to stop her brother from dying too. Ethan remembered Evelyn disappearing inside Divine Light 8 years earlier. He remembered the promise she forced into the hands of a frightened child. And now, once again, someone he loved was falling in front of him. No, he refused to live through the same ending twice. Then something answered. A cold, mechanical voice announced that the sovereign account system had awakened. It activated a 10-second transformation and locked Ethan's remaining health. 10 seconds. That was all he had to change his family's fate. Crimson armor sealed around his body as impossible power flooded every muscle. The flame shadow blade appeared in his grip, burning without consuming him. The monster laughed once more. Ethan crossed the street before that laugh could end. His first slash carved through armor that security rifles could not scratch. Inferno burst, drove the creature through a concrete wall and buried it there. A phantom-eye spider emerged, attracted by the sudden Emperor-level pressure. It mocked humanity's slow growth while beasts evolved through killing. The spider attacked as Ethan's 10-second transformation began collapsing. His energy and health dropped beneath 1% at the same moment. The system offered one emergency ultimate skill, capable of deciding everything. The spider leaned closer, already imagining his body as fertilizer. Ethan raised the flame shadow blade with both burning hands. He promised to show what Academy trash could do when cornered. Crimson Tempest erupted. When the fire cleared, the phantom-eye spider no longer existed. The system awarded 20,000 experience points for the successful elimination. Those points immediately converted into energy and repaired Ethan's broken body. His wounds closed rapidly, while the surrounding flames faded into drifting embers. Another notification announced that the Godfall seal had chosen him. The familiar name froze Ethan because it belonged to his mother's final battle. Inside system space, he learned his hidden link level had already reached 10. 3 years of training had strengthened account compatibility instead of visible statistics. The Crimson Flame Sovereign account unlocked automatically through that accumulated progress. 10,000 experience points remained, so Ethan ordered another immediate upgrade. His link level rose to 12, while the public panel still displayed 3. The system explained that outsiders could never see his account connection. Ethan's true strength combined visible level, hidden link, talents, and equipped abilities. He smiled because every enemy would continue trusting the wrong information. Victory brought no celebration because Daniel remained critically injured nearby. Ethan and Lily rushed him toward the nearest Monroe Industries hospital. At reception, their desperate request met Dr. Victor Fain's cold expression. The hospital demanded full payment before releasing rare medicine or emergency resources. Lily promised they would sell their home and repay every remaining dollar. Dr. Fain said poor strangers should not waste treatment meant for valuable patients. He ordered security to remove them while Daniel struggled to breathe. Ethan stopped Lily from begging and placed the spider's crystal on the counter. Fresh heat rolled from the level 18 core and scorched the polished surface. Fain recognized the phantom-eye spider crystal and stared at Ethan's panel. He refused, believing a level 3 student had killed such a dangerous creature. Ethan answered that level 18 had not seemed especially impressive. Fane valued the crystal at $200,000. Daniel's required antidote and surgery would cost $500,000 altogether. Ethan requested 3 days, but Fane allowed only 1. Outside the room, Lily admitted their house could never sell that quickly. Then she remembered the Academy's Shadowwood Dungeon tournament the following morning. This year's first place prize had been increased to $1 million. Winning could cover treatment and permanently protect Daniel from Fane's cruelty. Lily volunteered to compete, but Ethan refused, risking her recent injuries. He promised to enter alone and return with the entire prize. The next morning, thousands of students surrounded the Academy's glowing dungeon portal. Monroe Industries heiress Madison Monroe appeared as the tournament's principal sponsor. She confirmed the $1 million prize and recruitment consideration for her Vanguard team. That offer electrified students dreaming about elite equipment, housing, and restricted dungeons. Shadowwood contained monsters between levels 5 and 15, including one hidden boss. Teams could contain 5 students, but Ethan had no intention of sharing. The Shadow Warden carried the largest point reward and guarded the dungeon exit. Points came from monster kills and defeated competitors, making betrayal completely legal. Madison called the rules cruel because the world outside was crueler. The portal opened. Ethan entered alone. Laughter followed him through the gate, but Madison watched without smiling. The system rewarded Ethan for entering his first official dungeon. Black trees surrounded him, while silver mist concealed movement between their roots. Low-level creatures offered points, but Ethan needed stronger prey before Daniel's deadline. Several beasts suddenly fled toward one section of forest. Then Ethan heard a girl screaming above him. Mia Bennett, a healer, hung inside a web stretched between enormous trees. Her teammates had abandoned her after a Crimson Widow attacked their formation. Mia promised healing support if Ethan cut her down and accepted her partnership. He told her to lower her voice before the predator returned. Too late. The web snapped around Ethan and lifted him beside her. The Crimson Widow emerged, delighted that its living bait worked twice. Mia apologized and offered to sacrifice her tournament run if he escaped. Ethan heated the silk carefully instead of struggling against it. The hardened threads cracked. The widow transformed, multiplying its speed while smaller spiders flooded the branches. Ethan cut through the swarm and ordered Mia directly behind him. The widow hit a poisonous charge behind its own minions. Ethan predicted the angle, caught its exposed body, and drove it downward. Mia cheered so loudly that even the spiders seemed distracted. Ethan sighed. One crimson movement split the widow's armor from shoulder to core. A second strike ended the fight before its poison spread. The system awarded 5,000 experience points and enhanced the dropped fangs. Crimson Widow fangs gained bleeding, poison, and weakness effects. Tournament points placed Ethan far above nearby students after one battle. Mia proudly described herself as the first person officially carried by him. Ethan asked why she had not teleported away after being freed. She declared him her new boss and volunteered as healer, cheerleader, and loot carrier. Ethan accepted one condition: she would never expose his hidden power. Mia immediately asked his real level while clinging to his arm. He pulled free and continued deeper into Shadowwood. A thunderous roar shook the mist ahead. Blake Turner stumbled from the trees with an enraged berserk Drake behind him. He begged Mia for healing and promised anything after escaping. She agreed only after demanding he never abandon another teammate. Her magic restored him, but the Drake's aggression transferred toward her. Blake immediately ran for his emergency teleport scroll. Ethan caught his wrist before activation. Apologize. The Drake charged, forcing Ethan to trap it inside Blazing Inferno. Blake apologized repeatedly and offered to join Ethan's team. Ethan triggered player protection, took his squad's points, and expelled him safely. Mia apologized for helping someone who had abandoned her twice. Ethan said kindness was valuable only when guided by judgment. He also warned her never to sacrifice herself while teammates still fought beside her. The Berserk Drake tore through the Inferno with extreme fire resistance. Ethan's strongest flames could wound it, but they could not break its rage. He explained that Mia's calming spell would work beneath 20% health. The problem was range. She had to stand close enough for the Drake to tear her apart. Mia agreed because Ethan had called her a teammate. He raised an infernal barrier when the beast charged her position. The impact split the ground and shattered half the wall. Now, Mia rushed forward and flooded the wounded Drake with soothing moonlight. The enormous monster shrank into a chirping baby dragon. Ethan stared at Mia. She hugged it before he could ask whether she used the wrong spell. Ethan raised his blade, but Mia claimed the creature promised hidden treasure. He asked whether that treasure was worth $1 million. The baby dragon pointed desperately toward nearby bushes. Ethan spared it, and the system still awarded points for subduing the elite. He used the accumulated experience to unlock True Sight. The new skill revealed concealed players, traps, monsters, and hidden energy trails. Mia returned from the bushes carrying an item with impossible dropouts. Ethan called her lucky, then corrected himself to dangerously lucky. Outside, Madison published every team's rank and position without warning. The tournament instantly became a hunt for Ethan's growing score. Mia worried about being surrounded. Ethan said concentrated enemies saved him walking. The first squad demanded every point and mocked his visible level. One strike triggered protection across their entire formation. 3 more teams fell in a rapid sequence of ambushes and forced teleports. Soon Ethan held first place, but he cared only about the boss. True Sight revealed enormous roots hidden at Shadowwood Center. It also revealed 2 hostile squads closing from behind. Ethan pretended to panic and ran directly toward the concealed boss. His pursuers followed, laughing at the academy failure, finally fleeing. Ethan activated camouflage and vanished with Mia beneath the trees. Then the forest moved. The Shadow Warden erupted from the ground beneath the pursuing squads. Their captain formed tanks, healers, and ranged attackers with impressive speed. Fire magic burned through the boss's first health phase. Mia whispered that they might steal the first clear. Not yet. The Warden became immune and awakened dozens of smaller tree creatures. The rival formation collapsed as attacks arrived from every direction. Their captain tried holding every monster while frightened teammates scattered. Mia asked Ethan to intervene before someone died. He stepped from camouflage and fired Flame Shadow, severing Flash through the summons. Students thought he was attacking them until the flames forced emergency teleports. One after another, endangered competitors escaped the dungeon alive. Several stubborn rivals remained and blamed Ethan for engineering the trap. They attacked him instead of leaving. Crimson Tempest activated player protection and removed them from Shadowwood. The Warden absorbed its fallen summons and entered an undocumented final form. Poisonous mist spread, while a confusion effect turned survivors against one another. Ethan blocked their attacks and ordered everyone to use their scrolls. Mia could slow the poison, but she could not cure its source. The final competitors abandoned their points and disappeared. Silence returned. Only Ethan, Mia, and a level 20 nightmare remained. The Shadow Warden promised to make them permanent nourishment. Ethan surrounded its massive body with blazing inferno. The Warden walked through the flames and launched roots toward Mia. Ethan told it to look behind itself. Hidden currents transformed the harmless inferno into a prepared Crimson Tempest. Fire erupted from every direction and exposed the Warden's core. The boss lunged before Ethan could complete another skill. Ethan crossed its roots with Flame Shadow movement. The core split. His blade shattered the core before the Warden reached Mia. The dungeon awarded 100,000 points and announced 3 survivors. A hidden upperclassman emerged, accusing Ethan of deceiving the entire academy. Ethan refused explaining anything to someone who had waited for scraps. Final rankings placed Ethan first and Mia second. He handed her the boss's healer equipment before the exit opened. Before Mia finished thanking him, the portal made a sound like something screaming. Then the exit began folding inward. A countdown appeared above them, while dungeon space cracked in every direction. Ethan seized Mia and threw her toward the shrinking opening. Go! She vanished through the portal 1 heartbeat before it sealed around him. Darkness swallowed Ethan, then dropped him into an academy already under attack. Smoke, gunfire, and broken communication towers revealed a coordinated terrorist attack. The Black Fang mercenaries had infiltrated during the dungeon tournament. The system identified them as enemies once expelled for murdering safe zone civilians. Their return targeted Madison Monroe and her family's political influence. Mercenaries controlled academy buildings while students scattered without organized defense. One captain prepared to execute a captured girl who resisted his abuse. Blake unexpectedly stepped forward and challenged the armed mercenary. His courage surprised classmates accustomed to seeing only arrogance. The attacker mocked students who had never witnessed a real killing. He raised his weapon, intending to make Blake the first lesson. Ethan appeared behind him and redirected the barrel before it fired. Mia explained that Blake had protected her while Ethan remained missing. Blake awkwardly expected gratitude, and Mia immediately refused giving any. Ethan tossed him the upgraded Crimson Widow fangs. He ordered Blake to finish the defeated killer personally. Blake hesitated because ending a human life felt different from killing monsters. Ethan warned that sparing a murderer could create another pile of bodies. When Blake still trembled, Ethan offered to handle the responsibility. Pride and principle finally pushed Blake across the boundary himself. Afterward, Ethan let him keep the dagger as proper equipment. Blake asked why his former victim suddenly treated him generously. Ethan asked whether he wanted strength or only enjoyed talking about it. Blake admitted believing Ethan had cheated throughout the tournament. Now, he understood those victories came from genuine, hidden ability. Ethan pretended the apology sounded weak and requested the dagger back. Blake clutched it tightly and reluctantly called Ethan boss. Mia protested because she considered herself the original sidekick. Ethan stopped their argument and assigned them to protect captured students. Information indicated Madison had been taken into the academy gymnasium. Blake and Mia volunteered to follow, but Ethan refused, exposing them further. He ordered Blake to defend the survivors until professional rescue arrived. Blake accepted seriously, then ruined the moment with an unnecessary salute. Ethan moved toward the gymnasium while mercenary guards discussed failed communications. They expected no student to approach the occupied building alone. Ethan eliminated the first guard before the second finished raising an alarm. A heavily armored commander ordered saturation fire across every nearby hiding place. Explosions destroyed Ethan's cover and exposed his visible level 4 panel. The commander laughed at a low-level student challenging military veterans. Ethan ignored him and demanded Madison's immediate release. Scarlet Flame Storm struck first, but advanced armor absorbed every visible flame. The system identified complete immunity against ordinary armor-breaking effects. Ethan recognized an opponent combining high offense with exceptional defense. The commander raised a high-explosive cannon and fired without further conversation. Ethan asked the system for the fastest, reliable survival method. Current experience could raise link level or unlock another unfamiliar account. He chose advancement because experimentation during bombardment meant certain death. The system raised Crimson Flame Sovereign's link level directly to 20. That milestone unlocked talent specialization and one available talent point. Ethan selected defense and gained the skill Explosive Combustion. Multiple blasts swallowed him while mercenaries celebrated prematurely. When smoke cleared, Ethan remained standing inside scorched pavement. They compared him to a cockroach and increased the cannon's output. His new defense converted incoming pressure into invisible retaliatory marks. Explosive combustion spread beneath the commander's expensive armor. The enemy dismissed the effect as a harmless temporary debuff. Ethan explained that small debuffs could still become execution methods. Internal flames erupted and cracked armor worth $4 million. The commander begged for mercy and offered a stolen treasure chest. Ethan accepted the chest, but refused trusting someone who attacked children. The system awarded 35,000 experience points after the victory. Rewards included Hell Roar, Medusa's Tears, Ancient Crystals, and Enchanted Ammunition. Ethan converted unnecessary explosives and gunpowder into additional experience. His total rose high enough to unlock another sovereign account. The new account belonged to Dr. Magnus, a scientist from another world. Magnus mastered engineering, alchemy, enchanting, blacksmithing, and forbidden creation. His inventions had eventually helped destroy the civilization that produced him. Ethan called that history less inspiring than the system suggested. The system answered that ability carried no morality without its user. A tiny artificial intelligence appeared and introduced itself as Byte. Byte claimed to be Dr. Magnus's greatest creation and strategic partner. Ethan stared at its small body and questioned the dramatic introduction. Byte angrily listed Magnus's achievements until Ethan demanded practical instructions. The account's core mechanic combined disassembly, fusion, and imaginative reconstruction. At the current stage, only the Master Engineer title remained unlocked. Ethan provided 2 captured items for an immediate demonstration. Byte dismantled both and created a device called Adhesive Lock. The restraint proved strong enough to immobilize heavily armored targets briefly. Ethan ordered continuous production because Madison still needed rescue. Byte complained about greedy humans while beginning the forced assignment. Inside the gymnasium, Madison faced Black Fang's strongest captain. Her 2 elite bodyguards stood petrified beside her like stone statues. The enemy had used Medusa's Eye, an epic single-use control artifact. Only Medusa's tears could reverse the effect before permanent damage developed. The captain offered Madison leadership of Monroe Industries under his faction's protection. In exchange, he demanded safe zone defense plans and complete political obedience. Madison called the proposal interesting, but nowhere near sufficient. She said money could not tempt someone who already controlled enormous wealth. The captain realized she had only been buying time and raised his weapon. Ethan entered, carrying Medusa's tears before the execution could begin. The captain mocked a level 4 student coming to die beside Madison. Ethan said she could not die before paying his tournament reward. Madison promised another $10 million if he escorted her out safely. Ethan accepted immediately and added a rescue surcharge without embarrassment. Scarlet Flamestorm forced the captain backward, but caused limited damage. Madison used the opening and removed 1/5 of his health with one slash. His counterattack ignored most of her defensive equipment. Ethan recognized the enormous gap between students and veteran high-level fighters. Madison ordered him to leave because the conflict concerned her family. Ethan repeated that neither of them was allowed to die today. The captain called him a durable target rather than a serious threat. Ethan activated adhesive lock beneath the captain's feet. The restraint slowed him while explosive combustion continued, damaging hidden armor layers. Realizing the danger, the captain increased speed and power dramatically. Ethan kept his attention while Madison circled behind through damaged bleachers. Bite completed a modified version of Hell Roar at the critical moment. The cannon blast struck the captain's exposed side at maximum output. A costly Guardian Seal absorbed what should have been fatal damage. Ethan's upgraded dagger triggered an instant kill effect during the same exchange. The captain sacrificed another rare item to negate that surprise. Both fighters realized their strongest hidden advantages had cancelled each other. The captain raged over wasting priceless resources on an academy failure. Ethan observed that high-level battles depended heavily upon rare, consumable equipment. The enemy activated an epic artifact and prepared one final attack. Ethan claimed he had no tricks remaining and lowered his weapon. His locked health state approached expiration, while the captain charged recklessly. At that moment, Madison's petrified bodyguards finally began moving again. Medusa's tears had required longer than expected to reverse the curse. One guard healed Ethan seconds before his protected health state ended. Madison's team surrounded the captain and neutralized his desperate final assault. With Black Fang defeated, she offered Ethan membership in Vanguard team. He refused becoming anyone's subordinate and asked only for promised payment. Madison explained that members received elite resources and upper district housing. Their families would live farther from beast attacks than ordinary citizens. Ethan admitted the offer deserved consideration, but Daniel came first. Ethan returned to the hospital expecting another argument over treatment fees. Instead, Daniel had been transferred into a luxurious private medical suite. Administrators bowed and apologized for every insult made the previous day. Madison's Supreme Black Card identified the Cole family as protected guests. All medical expenses became free under Monroe Industries' hospital policy. Ethan denied any romance and demanded the conversation end there. Before treatment continued, an emergency alert came from the medicine vault. Every top-tier antidote and several rare potions had disappeared. Dr. Fane claimed investigators found no footprints or forced entry. Only one message remained, praising the hidden beast god. Basic antidotes could reduce Daniel's symptoms, but not remove the toxin. The stolen medicine would likely appear quickly through black market sellers. Ethan contacted an underground broker while Lily insisted on joining him. Their seller arranged a meeting inside an abandoned service alley. No person appeared when the siblings reached the agreed location. Lily noticed a sealed case beneath a broken streetlight. Believing it contained the antidote, she stepped toward it. Ethan shouted a warning, but poisonous gas exploded first. Silent Viper venom formed a barrier and suppressed every activated skill. The poison also severed Ethan's connection with the Sovereign account system. Lily collapsed while footsteps approached from beyond the toxic haze. Dr. Victor Fane emerged and mocked Ethan's previous confidence. Only a hospital insider could have accessed the stolen antidote vault. Fane admitted everything and said Ethan had crossed powerful hidden sponsors. Ethan demanded Lily's release and the medicine intended for Daniel. Fane explained that Silent Viper venom had been designed specifically for him. A masked woman named Selena Ward suddenly attacked the barrier's control point. She said a personal grudge against Fane justified the intervention. Selena broke the field and handed Ethan a dungeon recovery potion. He stabilized Lily, then pursued Fane despite his disconnected system. An unknown young man intercepted the fleeing doctor and stole the antidote. His equipment carried markings connected to the powerful Cross Corporation. The stranger introduced himself as Adrian Cross and gave Ethan the medicine. Lily recognized Adrian as a former Academy genius who vanished mysteriously. Additional enemies surrounded them with expensive gear and mental control equipment. A wide suppression field froze everyone before Ethan could move. His system connection recovered enough to offer emergency purification. Ethan spent 10,000 experience points and shattered the control effect. He moved before the hidden attacker realized anything had changed. Shadow movement ended the ambush and forced Fane onto his knees. The doctor offered every stolen potion and promised a larger secret reward. Then he launched a concealed transformation attack while begging for mercy. Fane shouted about evolution, new world, and the beast god's blessing. Ethan countered before the injected serum could reach full activation. The doctor fell, leaving another syringe tied to the same secret organization. With Daniel's antidote secured, Ethan prepared to leave the black market. Lily recovered enough to demand joining a nearby private auction. Madison's representative confirmed Ethan could enter using the black car. The auction existed inside an independent spatial instance connecting 9 safe zones. Wealthy buyers arrived through portals that protected their identities. When Ethan entered, Adrian had just purchased a level 70 magic crystal. Byte confirmed Adrian's identity through biomagnetic patterns, despite the disguise. Ethan wondered how a young former student possessed such extraordinary wealth. An epic Skywing cloak appeared next, and granted 5 minutes of flight. Byte rated it only 2 stars because the cooldown was absurdly long. Byte reminded him that fantasies were expensive, and he was still broke. The auctioneer then revealed an epic engineering blueprint called Iron Heart. Its opening price was surprisingly low at only $2 million. Engineering required enormous wealth, and fewer than 10 recognized masters worldwide. The blueprint also consumed part of its creator's intelligence permanently. No corporation wanted risking a valuable master for one personal combat machine. Byte insisted Dr. Magnus's intelligence exceeded every ordinary limitation. Ethan placed the only bid while surrounding guests laughed loudly. They assumed a low-level student believed he could become an engineering master. Ethan said mechanical armor was worth buying, even as an impossible dream. The auction awarded Iron Heart to him without competition. His lucky ring immediately triggered a random blueprint enhancement. The planned machine's initial combat level increased from 1 to 20. Its fixed neutral form also became fully customizable. The final auction item was Resurrection Elixir of the Fury Spirit. Legends claimed the potion could drag someone back after death. The resurrected person returned, consumed by bloodlust and violent instinct. Lily wondered whether such a creature was still the person everyone missed. Byte explained that true resurrection exceeded ordinary alchemy and human ethics. Bidding climbed from 100 million to 300 million almost instantly. Adrian Cross won the legendary elixir after every competitor withdrew. Ethan asked who Adrian was desperate enough to bring back. Adrian did not answer. His thumb rested over a worn photograph hidden inside his coat. For 1 second, Ethan saw a smiling woman standing beside a little girl. Adrian concealed the picture, but his eyes remained fixed on Lily. It was not the gaze of a stranger admiring a cheerful child. It was the look of someone remembering a person he had failed to save. Before leaving, Adrian gave Ethan the Skywing cloak purchased earlier. Ethan accepted it and carried away a mystery that now felt painfully human. Back home, he summoned Dr. Magnus's workbench using Iron Heart. The system requested a chosen gender, face, and combat configuration. Ethan selected a female guardian and used Evelyn's photograph as inspiration. Unknown energy interfered with construction during the final creation phase. Warning signals flashed while the system attempted emergency restoration. Instead of an adult guardian, a small, silver-haired girl stepped forward. She politely asked whether Ethan was the master she had searched for. Her energy signature remained above level 20, despite her childlike appearance. Inside the machine, another consciousness awakened with complete memories. She was Lyra, mechanical empress of the M79 Nebula. Lyra believed she had reincarnated inside a primitive, lower-dimensional world. She secretly planned to conquer that world after escaping her new restrictions. Ethan knew none of this, and gave the small guardian a new name. He called her Nova, and introduced her to Daniel and Lily. Lily immediately asked whether Ethan had another secret little sister somewhere. Ethan explained that Nova was an advanced household and security machine. Lily pointed out that the girl barely reached the kitchen counter. Internally, Lyra raged at being reduced from empress to domestic servant. Her mechanical body still obeyed Ethan's commands without resistance. Nova cooked, cleaned, and delivered packages while silently promising revenge. Ethan emphasized that her real purpose was protecting the Cole family. Nova sweetly promised that nobody would ever harm them again. Her hidden consciousness hated how sincere the words unexpectedly sounded. A few days later, the academy held a public award ceremony. The principal praised Ethan for saving Madison and defeating Black Fang. Many students still believed a visible level for failure could not be responsible. Blake loudly defended his boss and described what happened during the attack. Mia joined the argument until the principal demanded silence from everyone. Ethan said people believed only what their limited perspective allowed. The principal presented a relic chest from legendary ruins. Hunter Mason Reed. Before Ethan opened it, emergency sirens screamed across the safe zone. Automated warnings announced a massive beast hid inside the protected district. Teachers ordered every student toward underground shelters immediately. A level 15 monster crashed through the auditorium before evacuation completed. It mocked human levels gained safely behind walls and training rooms. Wild beasts reaching level 15 had survived countless real battles. Ethan remained inside while Blake and Mia returned to support him. He warned that every following wave would probably become stronger. Blake promised to act as frontline support despite his lower level. Mia said she would heal from distance and avoid causing trouble. Ethan ordered both to stay close because this was their chance to advance. Together, they killed the first monster and charged onto the campus. Ethan weakened each creature while Blake and Mia alternated finishing attacks. Their experience climbed rapidly as students escaped behind them. The next wave arrived at level 16, confirming Ethan's prediction. Monster strength increased every few minutes across the entire safe zone. Ethan realized even perfect efficiency would eventually fail against endless escalation. He worried about Daniel, Lily, and Nova inside the residential district. Before leaving, he divided rescue routes using True Sight. Blake and Mia received the cafeteria, where 3 students remained trapped. Ethan took the teaching building and academy collection room alone. His system reported 210,000 experience points available. He invested everything into Crimson Flame Sovereign instead of learning another account. The link level rose to 31 and unlocked an offensive talent. Ethan entered the teaching building and killed a level 18 beast instantly. Rescued students stared because his public panel displayed only level 5. He sent them toward shelter and continued to the collection room. There, mysterious young woman searched relics instead of evacuating. Ethan asked why treasure mattered while the entire academy was collapsing. She said survival advice was useful only when given to weaker people. A level 45 raging titan gorilla entered after detecting her scent. Her ranged attacks barely marked its reinforced body. Ethan intercepted the killing strike before it reached her. She asked why he saved someone who clearly rejected his help. He said rude people still counted as people during rescue operations. The woman warned that the enemy's level exceeded both of them. Ethan answered that she was not the only person concealing strength. They agreed to cooperate until the greater threat disappeared. Ethan handled close combat while the woman attacked from range. The gorilla's defense exceeded system estimates and shrugged off ordinary strikes. A control spell slowed it long enough for Ethan to reach one shoulder. The beast transformed, increasing strength while preparing a devastating area attack. Ethan absorbed the edge and remained between the woman and danger. The gorilla mocked him for pretending to be a heroic rescuer. Ethan activated adhesive lock beneath its feet and created an opening. Their combined attacks drove the monster beneath critical health. The gorilla began consuming its remaining life to detonate the magic crystal. The woman recognized the self-destruct technique and ordered immediate retreat. Ethan noticed that the explosion required its final health as a trigger. He told her to cover him and charged through unstable energy. The flame shadow blade shattered the crystal before detonation completed. The gorilla died while promising that Lord Kenshu would avenge it. Ethan gained experience and realized the invasion had intelligent leadership. The mysterious woman said he had saved her twice today. Ethan credited her support and suggested traveling together toward the shelter. She refused, claiming another private escape method remained available. Before disappearing, she called Ethan by name without receiving an introduction. He realized she could have left the collection room whenever she wanted. Byte appeared and began gathering exposed Academy relics from the ruins. It selected the Mirror of Truth, Hydra, Dagger, and Faceless Golem. Additional treasures included Odin's robe and the 7-star array plate. Ethan hesitated because every item still belonged to the Academy. Byte argued that leaving them guaranteed theft or destruction. Ethan agreed to hold everything temporarily for the principal. An alarm interrupted before Byte could mock that convenient explanation. A level 55 signature was moving directly toward the underground shelter. Ethan activated True Sight and raced through the collapsing campus. At the shelter, teachers formed a defensive line before terrified students. Mia promised everyone that Ethan would return before the monster attacked. Blake supported her confidence despite wounds from several previous waves. The insectoid landed outside and immediately recognized Ethan's familiar scent. It remembered a foolish divine woman who once destroyed herself nearby. Her scent matched Ethan closely enough to reveal a family connection. Ethan understood the creature had witnessed Evelyn's final battle. He attacked with Crimson Tempest before asking another question. The beast emerged laughing and said his power remained insufficient. Its eyes released mental control over every defender near the entrance. The principal warned everyone not to meet the creature's gaze. The warning came too late, and Blake turned against Mia unwillingly. He screamed for her to move while his controlled body kept attacking. Ethan asked Byte for an item capable of breaking mass domination. Byte proposed fusing Mirror of Truth with the shield grenade. The resulting pulse would grant nearby allies complete control immunity. Unfortunately, fabrication required time Ethan might not possess. He fought alone while Byte began construction inside system space. The insectoid became fascinated with Mia's healing magic. It said restorative humans would make excellent renewable food. Blake begged Ethan to kill him before he injured another student. Ethan refused, abandoning someone fighting against control from within. He intercepted Blake's weapon and took a wound intended for Mia. She demanded to know why he protected an attacker. Ethan answered that the person and the control were not the same. Byte announced that the immunity device still needed 30 seconds. Crimson Tempest forced the insectoid backward and bought several moments. Blake told Ethan their brief time as teammates had been worthwhile. Without Ethan, he would never have discovered real courage. He requested a quick death if control became impossible to resist. Ethan ordered him to stop talking and continue fighting internally. The insectoid mocked human emotion as pointless battlefield theater. Mia healed Ethan while avoiding Blake's force strikes. Byte finally completed the device and released a reflective energy pulse. Mental control shattered across Blake and every affected student. The insectoid admitted Ethan possessed far too many unexpected tools. The insectoid released butterfly dream poison across the shelter entrance. Ethan dodged the first cloud, but inhaled a hidden second layer. The battlefield vanished. He opened his eyes. Morning sunlight rested across the kitchen of his childhood home. Evelyn stood at the stove, humming, while pancakes warmed in a skillet. Daniel turned a newspaper page, and young Lily colored beside him. There were no alarms, no armor, and no blood beneath Ethan's fingernails. Evelyn touched his cheek and asked whether the nightmare had frightened him. Her hand was warm, too warm to be a memory. She said he had only been sick and dreamed about a ruined future. Ethan sat at the table because his legs no longer wanted to leave. Daniel poured coffee while Lily complained about being late for kindergarten. Everything sounded ordinary, and ordinary felt more miraculous than any system. For the first time in years, Ethan let himself imagine staying. No monsters waited outside. No one needed him to become strong. Evelyn placed breakfast before him and said the pain could end forever. He almost believed her. He almost wanted the battlefield to be the lie. Then Lily's laughter, repeated with exactly the same rhythm. Daniel turned the same newspaper page again. The clock moved forward, but the sunlight never changed. Ethan looked toward Lily, and her chair was suddenly empty. He asked where she had gone. Evelyn smiled and said he did not need anyone else anymore. Just the two of them. Forever. Ethan nearly said yes. Then he remembered Evelyn's final command beneath the burning sky. Protect Lily. His real mother would never erase her daughter to keep her son comfortable. The kitchen photographs blurred, and every missing face turned toward him. Ethan stepped back while the false Evelyn reached for his hand. He told the illusion that it had copied her face, but not her love. The peaceful home cracked from ceiling to floor. He opened his eyes. This time, he chose the nightmare because the people inside it were real. The system unlocked. Rediscover your true self, and released true martial form. Complete Emperor armor formed while pressure shattered the remaining poison mist. The insectoid recoiled because it had already absorbed most of Ethan's energy. He said the creature's opportunity ended when the illusion failed. Ethan crossed the battlefield and tore through one armored wing. The beast released eggs across the ground while retreating. It threatened to resurrect and hunt every student Ethan protected. It named Blake and Mia as the first future victims. Ethan condensed every remaining flame into one descending attack. Crimson Star erased the beast, its eggs, and every escape route. The system awarded 200,000 experience points for complete elimination. Additional rewards included a level 50 crystal and valuable biological materials. When true martial form ended, Ethan collapsed from accumulated damage. Mia rushed forward and repeatedly called his name in panic. Ethan opened one eye and complained that he still needed sleep. Blake thanked him and admitted every past insult had been wrong. Before Ethan answered, Lily contacted him through damaged emergency communications. She reported beasts surrounding their neighborhood and their route toward Zone 9. The signal broke before Ethan confirmed Daniel's exact condition. He stood despite Mia warning that his body remained dangerously unstable. Blake offered to follow, but Ethan assigned everyone to defend the shelter. He could travel faster alone and needed them protecting survivors. Meanwhile, Daniel stumbled beneath an attack from a level 30 insectoid. Lily stood between him and the creature, despite her lower level. She shouted for Nova to carry Daniel toward safety. Nova's command system activated before Lyra made a conscious decision. Her mechanical body intercepted claws meant for the Cole family. Internally, Lyra complained that humans were unbelievably fragile. Outwardly, Nova told Lily to stand behind her without fear. The monster called Nova a low-grade mechanical toy. That insult offended the mechanical empress more than any household chore. Nova counterattacked and drove the creature through an abandoned storefront. The insectoid transformed, unfolding armor and additional blade-like limbs. It claimed Nova should feel honored to witness its evolved form. Lyra considered the primitive creature too ignorant to understand machinery. Nova struggled because her current body limited her former combat experience. Still, animal instincts improved with every exchanged attack. Lily encouraged her instead of escaping alone with Daniel. Their trust affected Lyra in a way she considered irrational. She activated Ironheart's hidden warrior configuration for the first time. Energy wings formed as Nova announced the mechanical Empress battle frame. The insectoid finally understood that it had insulted something dangerous. Nova anticipated its shape-shifting feint and pierced the exposed core. 10,000 experience points entered her independent growth system. Lyra immediately gained greater control over the mechanical body. She realized this world's laws rewarded continuous combat and advancement. Repeated victories might eventually free her from Ethan's imposed commands. Another beast wave appeared along the road toward Zone 9. Nova carried Daniel while placing herself between him and every threat. Although she resented the role, abandoning them no longer felt possible. Ethan followed mechanical battle traces through the ruined residential district. True Sight confirmed that Nova had defeated several monsters along the route. Relief came briefly because those signs proved his family kept moving. He encountered Captain Lena Quinn defending civilians near a collapsed checkpoint. Her movement seemed strangely familiar, despite Ethan never meeting her. He helped destroy a level 33 beast threatening the security line. Lena thanked him and confirmed the Zone 9 shelter remained operational. A discarded transformation syringe rolled from the defeated creature's equipment. Ethan recognized the design from Dr. Fane's black market experiment. A familiar female voice spoke from beyond the smoke. She said Ethan had escaped once, but would not escape again. The woman injected herself with serum called the Beast God's Blood. Scales, claws, venom glands, and enhanced muscle spread across her body. Her human aura faded until True Sight identified something closer to a beast. She invited Ethan to accept transformation instead of resisting inevitable evolution. One injection, she claimed, replaced decades of painful human training. The beast god could grant strength, survival, and freedom from weak bodies. Ethan asked what price she paid, while her voice became less human. She insisted there was no price, and attacked with corrosive venom. The liquid dissolved concrete wherever Ethan narrowly avoided contact. Multiple false bodies appeared, hiding whether she used invisibility or illusion. True sight exposed energy paths linking every duplicate to one source. Scarlet flamestorm burned the projections and forced her visible. The woman said Ethan could become stronger than her by joining willingly. Together, they could rule humans who remained trapped by fear. Ethan answered that humanity's weakness never made beasts superior. Humans possessed emotion, courage, and the ability to restrain violent instinct. Civilization existed because people chose not to act like predators. The woman had not evolved beyond humanity, she had surrendered beneath it. Enraged, she attacked with defense, speed, and strength near maximum levels. Ethan's ordinary attacks landed repeatedly but failed penetrating her scales. She said regeneration would let her wait until his damaged body collapsed. The system warned that another ultimate sovereign transformation might kill him. Ethan ordered activation anyway because retreat exposed Zone 9. Crimson armor returned, unstable, but powerful enough to continue fighting. The transformed woman stopped smiling when Emperor pressure cracked the pavement. She still claimed beast god power would outlast every human technique. Ethan crossed the distance before she completed another recruitment speech. Flame Shadow Blade collided with claws coated in corrosive green venom. Heat vaporized part of the poison and filled the road with burning mist. Both fighters disappeared inside it while exchanging attacks at close range. True Sight tracked her unstable energy whenever ordinary vision failed. She created more illusions, trying to overload Ethan's perception. He ignored their shapes and followed the deteriorating mental signature. One direct slash landed, but reinforced scales stopped deeper penetration. Her counterattack tore through armor and reopened Ethan's earlier wounds. Explosive combustion marked her arm during the brief physical contact. When it detonated, flame spread beneath scales instead of outside. She ripped away burning flesh, and new tissue regenerated almost immediately. Ethan realized physical attrition still favored her completely. Ultimate sovereign form increased output while destroying his body from within. The woman sensed his weakness and slowed her attacks deliberately. She no longer needed immediate victory because exhaustion would finish him. Ethan demanded Bite, analyze any weakness, however uncertain or indirect. Bite reported perfect physical statistics but severe mental deterioration. Beast instincts were replacing memory, judgment, restraint, and rational planning. Ethan realized transformation created strength by destroying the user herself. He asked why she originally wanted power so desperately. The question made her movement pause for one uncertain heartbeat. She answered that weakness had brought only fear, humiliation, and loss. Beast god power finally made everyone else afraid of her. Ethan understood that desperation, because helplessness once defined his own life. He asked who she intended surviving for after abandoning every human bond. She claimed family and affection were burdens belonging to weak creatures. Her answer sounded memorized rather than honestly believed. True Sight showed energy pathways flickering out of synchronization. Ethan had found the weakness hidden beneath her perfect statistics. He attacked widely, forcing beast instincts to chase the largest flames. While she focused forward, flame shadow movement carried him behind her. The blade cut an unguarded joint before regeneration adjusted. She raged that tricks could never overcome absolute superior power. Ethan answered that uncontrolled power made every reaction predictable. The woman released venom in every direction and abandoned precision completely. Her attack damaged even the road she needed for retreat. Ethan crossed narrow, safe gaps revealed through True Sight. Ultimate sovereign form flickered, warning that only moments remain. He lowered his weapon and pretended his body could no longer continue. The transformed woman laughed and charged for the final strike. Her beast instincts recognized helpless prey and rejected every remaining caution. Ethan shifted aside at the last possible moment. Her momentum carried the killing attack into shattered pavement. Every explosive combustion mark activated across her body simultaneously. Internal detonations disrupted regeneration and exposed the unstable core. Ethan raised the flame shadow blade with both trembling hands. She formed another illusion, but True Sight looked straight through it. His blade found the real body. Crack. For the first time, her scales broke beneath a direct strike. She hurled Ethan through the ruins, and ultimate sovereign form collapsed midair. He hit the ground hard enough to lose every sound around him. She was still standing. For one terrible second, it looked as though his final attack had failed. Then the fire moved. Crimson light crawled through every corrupted pathway beneath her skin. Regeneration reversed and began burning beast god tissue from within. Her claws crumbled while malformed armor peeled away in smoking layers. She demanded to know how perfect strength could possibly lose. Ethan rose onto one knee, breathing through blood and broken armor. Perfect power meant nothing after the beast. God erased the judgment controlling it. She asked whether wanting to become stronger had truly been wrong. Ethan said, no. Wanting strength was human. Surrendering memory and choice was the price that destroyed her. The last monstrous plates dissolved and revealed her human face. She whispered that her former life had contained nothing worth protecting. Then she imagined a world without rifts, hunger, or constant fear. Perhaps she might have married, raised children, and built an ordinary home. Home. The word broke through what remained of the beast. God's control. She looked toward the distant shelter lights and said she wanted to go there. Ethan stayed beside her until the corrupted energy finally stopped moving. No victory announcement came. For once, Ethan was grateful for the system's silence. A message arrived from an unfamiliar number through Ethan's damaged communicator. Lily, Daniel, and Nova had safely reached the Zone 9 shelter. Ethan verified the signal twice before allowing himself to believe it. Relief weakened the anger that had kept his injured body standing. The woman before him had sought strength because the world denied safety. Beast God exploited that despair and offered power without patience. Its shortcut erased the very life she had hoped to protect. Ethan understood that systems, levels, and talents were only tools. Their value depended entirely upon the person choosing how to use them. Crimson Flame Sovereign could protect cities or reduce them to ashes. Dr. Magnus could create salvation or repeat another world's destruction. Even Nova carried the mind of an empress who once desired conquest. Power never decided automatically who someone would become afterward. Ethan's choices during ordinary moments mattered as much as victories. He spared the baby dragon when killing offered easier rewards. He forced rival students to evacuate instead of letting pride kill them. He trusted Blake after witnessing courage beneath years of arrogance. He protected Mia's kindness while teaching her where compassion belonged. Those decisions separated him from enemies worshipping strength without restraint. Ethan picked up the flame shadow blade and turned toward Zone 9. Every movement reopened injuries, but his family remained somewhere ahead. Beyond the shelter, dimensional rifts still burned across the darkened sky. Black Fang had fallen, yet Beast God followers remained hidden everywhere. The Godfall seal still connected Ethan to his mother's unexplained past. The divine enemy from childhood might still be watching beyond those rifts. Far outside the safe zone walls, something enormous opened one golden eye. It had watched the transformed woman's death through the mark inside her core. A voice moved through the darkness without disturbing the throne beneath it. Evelyn's son had awakened, and the seal had chosen him. Then the eye closed, as though today's disaster had been only an introduction. Adrian Cross still carried a resurrection elixir and grief. He refused, explaining. The collection room woman knew Ethan's name without any introduction. Nova's independent consciousness was growing stronger with every battle. Every answer waiting ahead promised greater danger than today's enemies. Ethan accepted that uncertainty without pretending fear had disappeared. He had been afraid on his first kindergarten morning as well. Back then, he said, fear never canceled his responsibility to protect Lily. Years later, those childish words had become the foundation of his strength. He no longer believed protection meant fighting completely alone. Mia, Blake, Madison, Nova, and countless defenders now shared that burden. Humanity survived because people stood together when individual strength failed. The safe zone lights flickered ahead like fragile stars beneath endless darkness. Their weakness did not make them meaningless against the night. Every surviving light represented another family refusing to disappear. Ethan wanted Lily to grow without measuring safety through combat levels. He wanted Daniel to recover without begging powerful people for medicine. He wanted children to reach kindergarten without watching the sky tear open. Those dreams sounded impossible in a world ruled by calamity. His own awakening had seemed equally impossible only days earlier. A mocked level 3 failure had defeated monsters beyond level 50. An abandoned healer had become essential to saving an entire shelter. A former bully had discovered courage when real blood replaced schoolyard cruelty. A household machine had evolved while protecting the family. She resented. Impossible. Change had already begun through choices made under pressure. Ethan could not promise that tomorrow would become peaceful. He could promise that nobody would face tomorrow without resistance. He looked toward Zone 9 and tightened his grip on the blade. For Evelyn, for Daniel, for Lily, and for every life still ahead. No matter how dark the calamity became, night could not last forever. Ethan would keep fighting until humanity finally reached its own dawn. And until that dawn arrived, his promise to protect them remained unbroken.